Ramesh, used to say when people would come to him, that they would go to India and spend a couple of weeks or whatever, month, sometimes a couple of months in his presence and coming every day for the teaching. And he said, Ramesh, I've got to leave tomorrow, go back home, and I've got to return to my family and my commitments and my business and my regular life. And can you give me something to take home with me because I don't want to lose this. And he said, yes. He said, forget everything that you've heard here. And his point was that what the teaching is pointing at is here. It's with you always. And the teaching itself has infected you. It's there. Now, and what happens with it, to what extent it grows and in what direction it goes and all the rest of that is clearly not something in your control and something for you that needs to be managed by you. So whatever will happen next, whether the teaching continues to grow, the options are countless. There are myriad options. And whether you find yourself, coming back here, whether you tune into the webcast, whether you continue to connect or not connect, however it all plays out for you is not in your hands. So the responsibility to remember the teaching, to keep it fresh, to do all of that is not yours either.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have authorship over that. It's not my responsibility. But I still may have just a desire to remember the teaching, and I could pursue that desire with the knowledge that...
Or not.
Or not, yeah. It may fall...
Yeah.
But if if somehow I'm able to remember, I could take steps to read occasionally or whatever. And that, as long as that, I realize that whole process, I don't have authorship over.
That is one of the essential pointers of the teaching, that whatever is happening is not your author doing. And so it is not ultimately your responsibility to make it happen or not happen.
So I sort of disagree with Ramesh's thing where he says, forget about it. He's telling you to forget about it, right?
Well, he's sort of...
He's saying forget about being responsible for it or something.
Essentially,
okay.
Yes. And even that, any pointer that the sage uses, he knows that you don't have the inherent power.
Yeah, to forget.
And this was the conundrum that he ran into when he first went to see Nisargadatta Maharaj, his guru. Because Maharaj would say, basically, you do nothing. This was his language. The consciousness which does everything. That's weight. And that was one of his big pointers that he used over and over again. You do nothing. Consciousness does everything. And then in the next moment he says, you must be earnest. You must want this like a dying man or like a drowning man wants air. You must be earnest. It is the most important thing. And he said he went home and he literally pulled out his hair. He said it drove him nuts. And he said, and he thought about it, he meditated on it, he tried to really took it inside. And he finally had an epiphany, a realization, a recognition that what Maharaj was saying was a description in essence. He's saying that you must be earnest. He's describing what must happen. He says you must want this. And then he's also describing that you do nothing. He's also describing the consciousness does everything. These are all pointers. He said Ramesh realized that what he was hearing, the filter that he was hearing this through, was a prescription in which he was hearing that this is something I must do of my own power. But Maharaj was never, it wasn't within the possibility of Maharaj that you could do anything from your own power. So he's not exhorting you to do something from your own power. It's just not possible. You don't have it. And yet, at the same time, the sage says, do this, do that.